Hey everybody, welcome to the Win Again Clubroom, or actually I call this the Win Again Lounge because it's private for members only. But anyway, today we've got lunch with an expert with Stephen Clarke, and I'm pretty jazzed to have him because he's beaming in all the way from Toronto, Canada. He's excited to join us because he's going to talk all about some, well, I don't want to give it away, but Stephen, why don't you join us here? One of the reasons why I got to know him was just I knew that he was had an athletic background. He's a pro athlete in hockey, and but I'm also very intrigued to listen by what he's done since that time and what he's grown both within business and within philanthropy. So do me a favor, Stephen, and the two things I want to hear from you, if you could, is number one, give me a sense of what it was like for you to go from hockey to what you were trying to do next, and what your transition was like. And then we can kind of skip ahead to what you're doing now. We don't need to spend too much time in the middle,
Yeah.
40 years or 50 years or whatever it was. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm
Oh,
joking. I'm joking.
thanks.
10 years. 10 years. Anyways,
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Well, thanks, Mark. First of all,
yeah, of
thanks for
course,
having me. I appreciate
of
it.
course. Yeah.
Well, the transition for me was very difficult because it was sudden. I just had signed a big contract and was just taken away just like that. A knee injury. They tried to do a bunch of surgeries and everything, and it was just over. And I knew it was over actually as soon as I got hurt. I knew it was something serious. And so, I was fortunate to transition into the advertising world, which I got some help from some athletes actually to get a great job and a great position. I learned that and built that up, and then ended up going on my own, building a large company in that industry, which I ended up selling to an even larger company. But then I started on my path to purpose. I think we all kind of are looking for our purpose. We all talk about that all the time. And that was the first real time where I just thought I was supposed to be an athlete. I didn't think about after that. And I think a lot of athletes can relate to that story. So for me, it was like, okay, so now really what do I want to do? I'm in a position now where I can do kind of whatever I want to do. What is that going to be? What is my purpose? And for me, it was I determined very, very quickly that it was to make a positive impact in the world. Wasn't exactly sure what that was all about, but that led me to the journey I'm on right now. And now it's been really defined, and I've been able to use I was a strategist in the advertising world. I've been able to use that to create some really cool programs, and now we're starting to make a really big impact in the world. But specifically in North America, but now it's gone global. So I'm having a lot of fun, and it's fairly meaningful. I feel good about what we do.
That's awesome. So before we get into that specifically, I guess another question I have is, do you find that some of the skills and the mindset and the skill set that you developed as an athlete have helped you in business?
Yeah, 100%. There's no question about it. That was where I developed my first skills that I applied to business, was actually being an athlete. Think quickly, make decisions quickly, live with the consequences. So yeah, absolutely. I think it was tremendous for me.
That's great. So right now today and going forward, I know you've got a tremendous mission and it sounds like a fairly large, certainly a large endeavor, but what is your goal tell me a little bit about the numbers and the kids and so forth.
Yeah, when we came out and decided what we wanted to do, my wife and I, we weren't really sure what that was. We just knew we wanted to make a positive impact. We didn't have any specific cause. We've always given to a number of different causes. So, it wasn't that we had anything specific. Homeless was one of my things that my mother wanted me to do. So we knew it was going to involve something around that. But then we took that deep dive as a advertising guy. We get all the research, we get the data, and I was a little bit shocked at some of the numbers I was finding, Mark. I was finding how much money we were giving, which shocks everybody. I had that conversation yesterday with somebody. I said, how much money do we give to charities and nonprofits in Canada, the United States every year? And he said, 10 billion. I said, well, that's interesting because it's over $450 billion US dollars every year. But the thing that troubled me the most is that a lot of the challenges that we're facing are not going down. We're not they're not going. Homelessness is going up. Hunger is going up. There's a lot of the things that we're facing in North America, in the world, quite frankly, that's not being, the money is not solving the problem. So if that's not the case, it doesn't, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that maybe it's the model that's not working. And where everybody, I know they all have great intentions, but if the model is broken, the model is broken. So that's when I really used the skill as for hockey and advertising to decide that I was going to create a new model. And I was going to, importantly, add an aspect that's not really in the space today, and that was collaboration. We all hear about it all the time. We're stronger together. There's an entire industry that really doesn't work that well together because they're all fighting for the same grants and the same donors. We know why, but it's still a flawed strategy. So that's how we kind of started to build this particular model, which are all for-profit social enterprises, and it's turning out to be really good.
Now, do you find, in your opinion, these are all your opinion questions, but because it seems like a lot of, whether it's, diseases not being whatever, or, poverty not being alleviated and so forth, do you feel that a lot of these organizations are mismanaged, or is it just simply kind of like when you're digging a hole, you're at the beach and you're digging a hole and the sand keeps on coming in? Is sort of, what do you think is happening?
I don't think it's, for the most part, I don't think it's got anything to do with being mismanaged. I think the model is, it's a 150-year-old model that really hasn't changed that much. And I think that what ends up happening without people even realizing, as they raise more money and they want to do more good, they add more overheads. It's just a natural thing that's happened. And unfortunately, as I said, I think the model is broken. So it's not that their intentions aren't right. It's not misappropriation of funds or anything like that. It's just they have a broken model and it needs to be changed. It needs to be tweaked. It needs to be, fine-tuned or streamlined. And so that more money is actually going to the cause. Because right now, actually less money is going to the cause. A friend of mine just did a thing about humanitarian aid. And we've got it set up now. So, US last year, $55 billion. Well, almost 40% of that never left the country. That was for things like Haiti and things like that, never left the States. So
is it all going into, let's say, the executive director's pocket and that kind of thing? Or is it just a lot too much infrastructure?
Yeah, it ends up getting that way. And it's just, they're businesses. I mean, charities and nonprofit are businesses. And so it's easy to add because you want to do more good. And also, it might also be our perception. I mean, for example, there's a huge food, Feeding America, the largest. And so they have 200 offices. They have a lot of things. So they spend a lot of money on that, but they also do things like distribute food, and they put all that thing in there. So it's not necessarily like we're partnering with them and they're going to distribute our food. And so they still provide a service, and they're still providing overall to the society. They're hiring people, they're doing all that. So they're still doing good. They're still providing good. Sometimes it's just not based on the reason we're giving them the money to do that. And that's why you're finding, causes like homelessness and hunger, everything continue to rise. So
now, do you, what's the first thing you would change?
Well, the first thing I would change is, which we did change, was we created these as for-profit social enterprises. I think that being a for-profit social enterprise puts the emphasis on making sure that you are fine-tuned, that you're running your business lean, you're making sure that everything is getting done the best way it can get done, and for us, because of that, we then are able to give back. In our case, we give back 50% of the profits to other causes. So we're able to do that. And also we can give away things like, a discount mobile app with 310,000 vendors and trips every week. And we can do a lot of things that, it's kind of regulated on certain things. One of our programs, Purpose-Driven Travel, gives away travel to volunteers. They get rewarded. But they get rewarded through a thing that doesn't affect the money that's going back to their charity. So it's just I think it's a better model.
Let me interrupt for a second there. Sorry, because how does it not? So let me take a step back. If I want to do I give your organization, let's say $100, and only 50 of it gets out because the rest goes to sending volunteers to travel, or what's happening?
So
What's the
yeah, no. So our organization basically, all of our companies, we have 7 of them, but in all of them, you're basically buying food. There's no, it's not giving this, giving that. You're buying food. You're buying 30 meals at $39.70, so $40, $1.33 a meal. It's non-GMO organic food, and then we take that food in your name and we ship it to a charity. And the reason we do that is because we want transparency. We want full transparency. And everybody knows today, you better be delivering full transparency because young kids today are demanding it. They want to know where their money's going and they want to know what the impact is. They also want to know what's in it for them, as we've heard that many times. But that's really important. So for ours, when you buy that food, we manufacture the food, we send it to the charity. You know, just receive the food, appreciate the patronage. Now we're putting it in the hands of the kids. So it's like, okay, are we getting
So
rich? No. Go
so
ahead.
I send the $40. I'm buying the
Yep,
food
you're buying the
that
food.
gets
Yep,
sent. So then, and then your company's making whatever it is out of that 40
yep,
bucks on the food that you're sending.
yep.
And then at the end of the day, the food gets to the kids, etc. And
Exactly. So
everyone's
transparency.
happy.
So
Hmm.
then there was 3 things, Mark, we wanted to do in our model. Number one was
Yep.
transparency. So
Right.
everyone was happy about that. The next one was I want you to continue buying that forever. And so the only way that I can do that is make sure you win more than you put in. So the first thing that we say is, okay, Mark, keep doing that. Here's a discount mobile app that's got 310,000 vendors. All of them
Okay.
will give you a minimum of 15% off every time you use it. So you're going to save more than it's actually costing you. And that's the first perk that we offer.
Oh, so the 15% off for like, let's say for movies or for whatever the hell it is or something.
Restaurants, bars,
Yep,
hotels,
got it. And they
electronics
want to,
products. Yeah,
and obviously they want to participate because they want access to the members or to the, I'm sorry, the
for
donors
sure.
and so forth. Got
Absolutely.
or customers or
Whether
whatever you call it. Yeah.
if you go in and buy a phone or something
Yep.
and get 15% off, you're now their
Yep.
client, right? So
Right.
they've just given a discount to their own client, and they're looking for repeat business and everything else. So from a marketing perspective, it's a very easy one because
Right.
we're
Right.
guaranteeing the client. You don't give the percentage off as a vendor until you get the client. That's pretty
Right.
cool because that's not the way it normally works. You pay for the marketing and hopefully you get the client. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, what do you consider to be the biggest hurdle to teaching people this model?
Oh, I think it's just a matter of time. We knew this going in as a strategist. I realized that we were going to get charities that wouldn't talk to us, and for example, purpose-driven travel, which is the real one built for the charity world, showing them that they could raise more money, plus get their volunteers compensated. We don't go after the 1.7 million charities. We go after the 78 million volunteers. Much easier. And so we can go to a volunteer and say, let us show you how you can raise more money for your charity of choice and receive free travel. And once we've done that, and we've done it a couple of times now, it becomes, it's just a matter of time. And it'll only be a matter of time, even by next year. Our numbers now show that we'll have over 2,000 volunteers feeding 500 each. That's a million kids a month that we're going to be feeding. And
That's
now,
amazing.
and that's 2 million a month we're giving back to charities.
So how do you I'm completely ignorant in this area in the sense that I have no idea how do you reach the volunteers, or where do you
Well,
see them or find
yeah,
them?
the great thing about volunteers is that there's 17 different associations in Canada, United States that,
Okay,
the Association of Fundraising Professional has 40,000 members. They're all
got it.
volunteers. So you go to them, you sponsor them, you start to educate. It's an education process, Mark. It's not a
Yeah,
selling
right.
process. It's just really reaching down. We did it with one group of charity, with one group that were representing one charity. And by the time we finished, they had said right when I told them the model, and I said, "How many are you going to do it?" 100% of them said, "Not a chance. This is what we raised money for. For this, we think
Yep.
feeding kids is fantastic, but there's no way we're doing it." When we shared the collaborative part, that they were going to actually raise more money for their charity of choice and get free travel, we had 93% of them sign up.
Well, that's it. It's what all it is it's the mindset. It's
That's right.
the no, it's
Exactly.
when Henry Ford, whatever he said way back when, where when he
Yeah.
was building a car and they have the people with the horses. I forgot what the thing was, but it's the same idea where you got to convince the people with the horses that it's
Absolutely.
okay to sit in a car. It's
That's
interesting.
right. And it's just an educational thing. It's not even with nonprofits now that we're talking about. We're getting at least 50% of them say no, like there's no chance we'll do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're only doing that because they're so used to doing what they're already doing.
Well,
If they
right.
actually took the time to look at it, like the other 50% are, they would say, "Oh, wow, this is really beneficial. Wow, I love this idea."
Well, at the end of the
So
day,
they'll
the
get it.
focus should be on the bottom line. The bottom line is the bottom line, right? And
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
charity ABC wants to raise another X percent by doing blank, they should give that serious consideration as long as
For
it's
sure.
legal and
Yeah, yeah.
not bad press for them or whatever it
No,
is,
for
I
sure,
suppose.
100%. Yeah, yeah. It'll become mainstream. I think very quickly, as we do more and more. I think I told you we have a major financial company in the
Yeah.
States that's going to partner up with us once we've done the first 25, and so yeah, it's going to be a really really good model that will help everybody.
Now, one of the things that you mentioned before when we chatted was the concept of sustainability. And so what you're talking about is that sort of recurring revenue, recurring, like almost a subscription based
Yeah,
kind of
that's what it
sort.
is.
Because
Yeah,
right now there's a couple of charities that I'm involved with that I do donate on a monthly basis, and
yeah,
one of them involves kids actually and so forth. And um, I don't even, it's brilliant only because number one, I'm not going to cancel it because I wouldn't do that to the kids. I mean, I'm going to be crying if I do that, so I can't do that to the kids. But the other thing is I don't even notice it. It just it's gone out of
that's
my
right.
it's on my bill and it just goes. So
Yep.
I think that is the way, or a great way to do it. One other thing I always like to recommend when I'm working with some organizations like this is I say, look, a donor always wants to see, and usually they don't show it, but what are the results from? Like, if I give you $100, show me a picture of a kid smiling with like spaghettios all over their face or whatever it is, and they're happy. If you watch late night TV, or really late night, and that they'll show the starving kids in Africa, and they show the kids unfortunately with the flies on them, and they're emaciated or whatever, and all this
Mhm.
sort of thing, and it's heartbreaking. But then they don't say, and if you give us X amount, here's what they'll look like.
Yeah,
It's just piling on the negative, miserable stuff. So
yeah,
my feeling is that if someone said, look, for example, there's a baseball charity that I used to do some stuff with that I said, look, show pictures of the kids playing catch now that they have this equipment that they
yeah,
didn't have 2 weeks ago, whatever.
yeah.
So is there a way to do that with what you're doing?
Yeah, there is for sure. In fact,
Okay,
so the full transparency from our side is we're giving the food to the charity, and they're actually
right.
putting it in. So our food is branded, and we will have by the beginning of next year probably people going around and helping with that. We have our own people that want to do that, and they'll be taking pictures and videos and stuff like that of the actual results and people being receiving the food and stuff like that. That's part of the transparency side for us.
Sure.
I mean, it's all great to get an email from the charity saying, "Hey, we got the
Right.
food and now we're putting it in the hands." But you're right, evidence-based stuff is far more powerful, and so yeah, we'll definitely be doing that.
That's great. And have you I mean, where are you right today? Do you need more volunteers? Do you need more charities what's the next thing you need?
Yeah, I built this like I built all my businesses, and we poured about 3 million personally into these companies. And so the big thing we're doing right now, for the first time in my life, actually, is that we're
Mhm.
raising funds. We're talking to investors right now about growing this and faster because I was challenged recently, just the beginning of this year, actually, about that I had a moral responsibility to go fast. And at first I took it, and I was insulted, quite frankly. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm doing nothing but good here. I just put 3 million of my own money into this.
Yeah.
And you're telling me this before, by the way, I built up businesses before, and you're telling me like what I should be doing. And the guy said, yeah, but you've never had to get, food into kids who might otherwise not get it.
Yeah.
So you
Right.
have a
Right.
moral responsibility to do it. And he said, I know how you're doing it. You're doing like you've always done it, but this is different. So go out and raise whatever you need, give up whatever you need to do it. Go fast. Because I was talking about over the next 7 to 10 years, feeding 25 million people. As you know, now I talk about the next 3 to 5 years, feeding
Right.
25 million people a month. So,
Right.
so yeah, that's one of the things we're doing. And then it's really just, again, we'll take that and do a great marketing. Obviously, that's our strength, and making sure that educational about what we do, why we do it, how we do it, and how everybody benefits. Because our motto, Mark, I told you this, is everybody must win more than they put in. That's the true way to build a sustainability model, because like, why would anybody stop if they're winning more than they put in?
Correct. And do you feel that, I mean, are you looking for, people to help endorse and market and push like influencers and so forth, or not really, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, in fact, we feel so strongly about that's really the main crust of our marketing. And we have our own agency called Purpose Driven Creators. And we
Okay.
have many agencies that are many creators, some really big ones that we have agreements with. And that's the digital space has now surpassed the retail space for sales, and 28% is done through online influencers. So they're learning their craft as well, and they're learning how to sell products. And so that's a great space to be in. Anybody who wants to really, sell stuff and everything, the online influencer space is just growing and growing and growing. I mean, there's one guy that we're going to be partnering up with. He's got 95 million followers. I mean, 95 million followers. I mean, that's like, almost 3 times the size of the Canadian population. So it's
Well,
it's
I
quite
don't want to
amazing.
I don't want to brag, but I'm already up to 75 followers on TikTok.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. You see, you're
I'm
growing.
gonna
You
get
could probably
them
start selling product.
8 bar of soap. I'm gonna
Yeah, I
sell
know.
1 bar of soap. Anyways, but no.
Yeah,
But this all sounds fantastic. So, right now, because I want to wrap this part of it up
yeah.
in a second. But what's the best way for people to reach you? I mean, look, just so everybody knows, um, I do follow you quite a bit on LinkedIn. Every morning at the crack of dawn, like way before I'm alive and well and so forth, you've got, some fantastically positive messaging that goes out to your network and so forth. And you thankfully tag me in all this sort of thing, and it's great. So, but tell people how else. I mean, they can connect with you on LinkedIn, but how else can
Mhm.
they connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, our company is, RTG Group, which, by the way, stands for Receiving Through Giving. There was a message my
Oh, great.
mom drilled into me when I was a kid. And so we have rtggroupusa.com is one of our websites, and you can reach me there. My email is just sclarke, CLARKE, rtggroupinc.com.
Got it.
So they can reach me there. But I'm always accessible, and of course on social media, I'm on Facebook and YouTube, and of course, as you said, LinkedIn is my favorite one because I connect with all my business people there. So yeah.
And then you've got, your name, Clark. You've got the bonus E at the end.
Oh,
Like you
you got to
said,
have the
I,
E.
I want to, I mean,
Yeah,
it's only an extra point in Scrabble, but,
for sure.
still, I mean,
No, you
you
got to
know, you
have
got
that. That's the only real Clarks there are in the world.
and then it's, anyways, whatever. Don't listen to my name. Whatever. I'm all over that. So listen, listen, I truly appreciate you being here today. It's what you're doing now, I believe needs to be really broadcast out there. I think
Thank
it's
you.
fantastic. The notion that I get the feeling that um, people will want to be much more involved because of this. And as you said, rewarding them. I think most people in this thing are like, wait, rewarded? How's that possible? So I think this is
Yeah,
great, Stephen.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
it, Mark. Yep.
You're welcome.